There is a direct relationship between knowledge and respect. The primary purpose of the council is educational. We are creating a knowledge base, a base of understanding, hopefully a base of wisdom, from which people can begin to better respect other religions, other faiths. We teach the controversy. We teach both sides. We are not tied to any one religion. We are not tied to any one political point of view. We teach all sides. If you teach the controversy, teach both sides with good scholarship. We think that respect has the best chance of emerging. Well, the First Freedom Center is going to be the last stage, the final stage in our construction. Presently, we're sitting in a room that was part of offices that were open in October, the renovation of historic buildings down here, downtown Richmond, the historic district. And then adjacent to these facilities, the most historic and high-priced parking lot probably ever created, but it's the site where the Virginia statute, authored by Jefferson, carried by Madison, ultimately into First Amendment, our Constitution, woven into the fabric of our rule of law, happened right over here. The statute probably can trace its real history back to Europe and the established churches of Europe, where you had to be a member of if you're going to build your resume. This was the state church. This is the state-supported church. And the new idea was the disestablishment, the lack of an established church, even though many people in Virginia were Anglicans, not to set this church up. Because once you set it up by government, there's a relationship to government that might work against the total freedom of people. They saw that in Europe. They didn't want to see the same thing happen in America. So with remarkable clarity of vision and a great sense of history, they came up with a document that gave us the free exercise of religion and at the same time no established church. You can belong to any church and the government is not going to choose one and lift it higher than all others. And most scholars, legal scholars today, say that this particular document is one or two of the most important legal documents that we have in terms of giving us the sustainable rule of law and the rich tapestry of our legal tradition on it. So that was done here. It's part of the legacy of the times of Richmond, our own American legacy. And there's about a 30,000 square foot footprint on which, hopefully in the very near future, we'll see America's First Freedom Center. The separation of church and state may not be explicitly stated in words, but there's no question that our founding fathers did want there to be a separation between church and state, not necessarily between religion and politics. I don't think our founding fathers ever meant for us to hang up our religion on a coat rack before we entered into a governmental sphere. At the same time, they certainly didn't want people coming into government and creating theocracies or coming into government and establishing one faith higher than some other faith. Still, there are times when you see an elected official say something totally baffling in terms of misunderstanding religious freedom, misunderstanding respect. And when that happens, you're obliged to point it out. This is not helpful. This is not very American. This doesn't lift up everybody's dignity. And the problem is when you're only interested in lifting up one faith, you tend to exacerbate the differences in all faiths. Martin Luther King said it best. He says, if one is not free, nobody's free. Well, if one does not have the freedom of religion, then nobody really has the freedom of religion. We live in a very pluralistic country, pluralistic world, really, in terms of religious diversity. And sometimes we have knee-jerk reactions to people who are not like ourselves. I think respect can take us in a different direction and look at the things we have in common, not out of compromise, not out of finding the lowest common denominator, but by lifting up every person's dignity.